recording. And I was just saying, for any of you who are just joining, if you have, I'm going to do that song again due to popular request, the song for Davy. So if you have printed out the PDF with the lyrics, you might want to have that just so you can start to get the melody. I think I'll just do it at every one of our calls so we can start to learn that. Yay, hi. So I will open. Basically what we're going to do, we're going to have a little moment to drop in today, and then we're going to go straight into our opening puja with chant. So if you also might want to have that PDF so you can do it along with me. I'm going to be offering lights, and so you all can do the mudras while I offer lights and the bell, the sound, to the deities. And then I'm going to open for us to share anything that wants to be shared about our journey in Yogini or about the particular gateways we find ourselves in life at this time. So whatever wants to come through in regards to our sankalpa or the intention that we're going to be setting for today as we enter into the realm of Tantrika. And then I'm going to go into speaking more about that and about where the gateway we're about to enter into. And there will be some time for Q&A at the end. So I want to keep our first share just to what's really alive in us, what's been moving in us on this journey. And then we can get into logistical stuff at the end before we close today. So so let's just go ahead and drop in first, closing the eyes, making sure we have anything we might need for the next hour or so, our PDFs, some water or tea, ideally undisrupted space, so cell phones on silent or off and out of the field. Just giving ourselves an opportunity to really drop into being rather than doing. It is from the being state that Tantra begins. So taking a moment to allow the breath to soften. And allowing the whole body and being to soften, really feeling yourself sitting back and then down. And softening the pelvic bowl, softening the root and yoni. Even feeling a softening down through the legs and the bottoms of the feet. Feeling a softening and opening in the hips and sacrum. And as you breathe and draw your breath all the way down into the lower belly, into the reproductive organs, allowing that lower belly to also be soft and open. The spine is erect, but around that erect spine, we're softening the muscles of the back, we're softening the heart. Back and down, the shoulders back and down. Feeling that softening melting all the way down through the arms, into the palms and out the fingertips. Feeling a softening in the neck and especially at the occiput where the skull meets the neck, a softening and an opening. Feeling that softening extending up to the crown of the head where it softens and opens up towards the heavens, just like the root is opening down towards the earth. And bringing this around to the brow, softening the brow and the eyebrows. Softening the eyelids and feeling the corners of the eyes extending back towards the ears. Softening at the temples and even softening the ears and feeling as if the earlobes are drawing down like those of the Buddha. Softening our cheeks, softening our jaw, softening the tongue in the mouth. and the space at the back of the throat. Allowing the whole being to come into a state of openness and relaxation in which the energies of deity, of Shiva and Shakti, can dance within us, can awaken within us, can merge in the present moment within and through us. And then bringing our awareness into the heart, we're going to invite this great burning sun into the center of the heart, the Hridaya, the spiritual seat of the awakened heart. Feeling the glow of this sun expanding through our whole chest. And in the center of this sun begins to emerge the goddess Kali. Kali is the face of the Devi, the face of the goddess we will be stepping into with Tantrika. She is the ruler of the heart chakra, of Anahata chakra. So bringing the Divine Mother in this form into the heart. And in spite of her ferocious appearance, really feeling the motherly qualities of the goddess Kali, the goddess of transformation. And as we sit under the glow of this Scorpio full moon, we sit in a powerful portal for beginning our work with this Devi, with this goddess. This Scorpio full moon, Scorpio is all about death and transformation, as is the goddess Kali. And with the full moon, it is like we're shining a light into those places within us that are in need of this transformation. So as we rest with our hearts ablaze with the sun of spirit, the presence of Kali, I invite you to feel into what is asking through your being in your life at this time, what pattern or outdated mode of behavior is asking for the transformational fires of the goddess Kali. What is being asked to be liberated into the flow of love that is the dance of life, that is the dance of Kali. And as you feel into what that is, I'm going to invite you to do our mudra we did in the very first call. So you can gently open your eyes just to see. It's Yoni Linga Mudra. So we're going to bring a different version than the one we use in our invocation. So we're going to place the right hand thumb up over the left. And then imagine that there's a seed in between the right hand and the left palm. And this is where we're going to plant the seed of our sankalpa, or our intention, our inner resolve. And that which has been revealed to be transformed, we set this as our sankalpa, or as our intention or inner resolve, as we step into the next chapter of our time together as cosmic consorts. You can begin this statement with I resolve to transform the pattern of whatever it is to be revealed. And once that sankalpa is set, we will offer it onto the altar of the Devi, of the goddess, and her beloved Shiva through our opening invocation. So you are welcome to join me in this as we open this call, and then I'll just open our circle briefly. It looks like there's only 2 of you here for now, for us to share what it is we are transforming as we step into the realm of Tantrika. So I'm going to face the altar, so you can go ahead and do the mudrik seals while I offer light and sound to the deities. Holding that sankalpa in the heart as we open this field. Shive Sabata Sadike Sharanye Brahmate Gaudi Narayane Namaste Om Kulasundariye Vidmahe Kamashparaye Dhimahi Anno Shakti Pratodayat Om Shri Guryo Namaha Om Shaktiye Namaha Om Triambakam Yadamani Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Surabhadukamiva Vandanam Nityanukshidhanam Vitata Om Maheshwaraya Vidmahe Rudrabhaktaye Dhimahi Anno Shiva Prachodayat Om Shri Guryo Namaha Om Nashvaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavachishyate Om Shri Guryo Namaha Om Shri Satye Namaha Om Atukama Satkamaya Anasama Jyotirgamaya Maheshwara Amritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Guryo Namaha Hari Jai Devi. Letting that invocation of the goddess and her god to sink into our hearts, the wholeness of the two, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, and our prayer to be led from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality, to the experience of peace within ourselves, with all of our relations, and in this cosmic dance we are playing out on earth as well. I'm going to sing, and this is where we invite into the devotional heart. So I'm going to invite you in again to that blazing sun at the heart. We can use the mudra, Hridaya mudra, the mudra of the spiritual heart. We use this in the first call. So we're going to tuck the index finger in towards the base of the thumb, and then bring the thumb to the middle and ring finger, as if we're holding a seed of a lotus flower at the heart. So we're going to hold this at the heart. I'll be holding it with my left hand, so I'll be using my right for the Shruti, but you'll hold it with the right hand. So bringing that image of that great sun and the goddess, the image of the goddess Kali, in the center of the Hridaya, the spiritual heart. As we sing this devotional chant to her, you can have the lyrics before you, if this helps. I am going to warn you, I've been a little bit sick, so we'll see when my voice holds out. As we visualize the goddess in the heart, really allowing the heart to open, to expand, to feel that love of the mother there rooted in the heart. And to feel this sense of offering ourselves to her, offering that which we wish to transform, offering our humility, offering the whole of ourselves into her embrace at her lotus feet. Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Srishti Stiti Vinashana Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashre Gunayani Sharana Bhakti Nana Parikantarayane Sarvasyaiti Hare Diri Narayani Kali Kali Mahakali Kali Kali Sarvatam Hare Narayani Kali Mahakali Kali Kali Sarvigna Hare Narayani Jayanti Mangala Kali Andrakali Kali Yorakshma Shma Yatri Sada Tondere Chamunde Jai Bhutani Harini Jai Sarvate Devi Narahri Sing it 2 more times, just so we can practice. Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Srishti Stiti Vinashana Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashre Gunamai Narayani Sharana Bhakti Nana Parikantarayane Sarvasyaiti Hare Diri Narayani Kali Mahakali Kali Kali Sarvatam Hare Devi Narayani Kali Kali Mahakali, Kali Devi Karini, Sahiri Nari Nayani, Jayanti Mangala Kali, Tantra Kali Kapali, Doya Shima Shima Dati, Sahasara, Twangage Chunde, Jebutati Hari, Devate Devi, Arati, last round. Really offering the whole of your heart to the altar of the goddess in the center of hearts. Sharanye Brahmake Gauri Narayani Namostute Srishti Siddhi Vinashana Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashraye Gunamaye Narayani Charana Bhakti Nala Parikrantayane Sarvasya Yaredi Narayani Kali Kali Mahakali Kali Devi Karini Sarvatam Kare Narayani Sute Kali Kali Mahakali Kali Devi Karini Sarvagnare Narayani Sute Jayanti Mangala Kali Tantra Kali Kapalini Doya Shiva Shiva Dhatri Sahasada Twangave Chunde Jebutati Hari Jai Sarvate Devi Arahati Shri Guru Om Gurudaya Om Parashakti Inhaling up into the heart and accessing Mula Bandha, so drawing up the genital muscles, locking the chin gently, holding that energy at the heart. And as you exhale, releasing the bandhas or the locks, imagining offering a lotus into the center of the heart at the feet of Goddess Kali. And again, taking a moment just to sit with that sankalpa, that inner resolve in the center of the heart, as that has been offered into the feet, or onto the feet of the goddess. So take your time to emerge from that space. And I want to open up for the Trinity. There's three of us. Three of us to share anything we want from either our journey in Yogini or our, well, especially our Sankalpa for this next round, what it is we are working to transform. Yeah, anything that wants to be shared. So I'm going to just open this up. So you can, if you want to click your video, you can and be seen and unmute yourself, or you can just unmute yourself, or even just type into the chat box, whatever feels best for you. I'll break the ice and just share what's alive for me as we step into Tantrika. So I have been simultaneously, I shared this in the first call, I'm going through my own initiation through Tantric sadhana that I'm on day 11 with. So I am deep in this field and just really feeling this ability for the hardness, those patterns, those things that build up that create these kind of shells, as I shared in Yogini about the koshas, those different bodies, how we get like those different bodies get clogged with material. And as I'm going deeper into, you know, it's a constant deepening in this tantric path, but as I go deeper, I'm starting to feel this actual experience of grace, like the melting of these layers that come to reveal our true nature. So for me, what came through with this full moon in Scorpio is the parts of us that get tangled up in the past, that start clinging, or those repetitive thoughts about the past, things that just won't budge, that we wish might have been different, or something like this. As I as I'm coming to the other side of this coupling process, there's like this sense that I'm almost liberated, and yet there's this kind of repetitive thought process happening. And so what I am offering at the feet of the goddess as we enter into this next cycle, into the realm of Tantrika, is liberation from the past, is to really melt those attachments, those repetitive thoughts that are keeping me still entangled and not allowing that full liberation and forward motion. So that's my Sankalpa, my inner resolve, is to really watch my thoughts and use the tools that I have to melt those away and to come again into the present and into my natural state of being. So I'd love to hear from you, ladies. Oh, yay, someone else just hopped on. Welcome, Devana, yay. So we are sharing our Sankalpa as we step in, whatever, maybe take a moment to think while the other ladies share what it is we are transforming as we step into Tantrika, into working with the goddess Kali, and into the realm of Tantrika.
I don't know if I do this properly. Am I unmuted?
You are. I can hear you. You're kind of quiet for me though, but maybe I just need to turn up my volume.
Move closer. Is that okay?
Yes, that's wonderful. Is this Crystal?
Yes.
Hi, Judy.
Hi. So yeah, it's been really amazing for me already. I'm in a really strong transitional period where I'm kind of back in Canada, my home, but I don't really know anyone where I am. So I've just like called this apartment that I'm in for the next 6 months my cocoon, where I'm basically like creating a lot, and I'm really spending a lot of time alone. So I'm really grateful to have this connection right now during this time. And I really resonated with what you just said, because I'm also really stepping into my career at this time and sharing my truth with the world, which is really scary. And I feel like some days I make it really far, and then other days it's all these fears from the past that are coming up like very strongly. I'm like, oh, it's still there. So I'm really learning to manage it. And I've actually been working with Kali naturally. She came into my life like a few weeks ago. I have her here on my work desk to really help me step into my power at this time, and then also enable others to do the same. So my Sankalpa for this phase is similar to yours. I'm really offering liberation from my past limiting beliefs and my self-doubts, which is all from the past. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling at this time. So
Beautiful.
thank you.
So much. What a gift to have that space to
Yeah.
dive into this. I've literally been like, I need that. I'm doing it without that space, but when we actually can be granted that space without distractions, I mean, that's kind of the ideal for us as practitioners. So beautiful.
Excited to see what will come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'll share.
Hi, Feather.
Hello. Yes, this is Feather.
Hi, Beauty.
Hello. I too resonate with both of you. And Crystal, I'm in a place too where I don't know anybody. I just moved to the big island of Hawaii. And yeah, just kind of cocooning in my home. I just had a baby 3 months ago. So just a lot of time with the baby. So stepping into this practice with you, Halo, has been such a beautiful gift. I literally wake up every morning like excited. It makes me teary. Excited to like do my mantras and hold my mudras, and I just have the baby with me, and like he'll just calm down and like watch me. And I just keep thinking like what a gift, because he's a boy, he's a male, you know. And it's like by me practicing with him and holding him in that space, like he's already learning from me. And so it's just like, ah, you know, raising these divine men. um
Yeah.
I have to share because last night was super amazing. I held a Shakti full moon circle, and I don't know anyone on the island, so I just literally put it on Facebook and was like, who knows who will come? Like, I don't know. I heard from a few ladies they were gonna come, but 13 women ended up coming, and I knew absolutely no one. It was like, whoa, like, so I got introduced to all these amazing women last night. But in the middle of our ceremony, I had them all getting into their hips. We were doing the Tao Tantric yoga and really like awakening our Shakti. And right in the middle of it, the Kali tapestry that I had lit on fire. Like lit on fire. And I look and I'm there bare-breasted nursing my son because he was kind of freaking out, dripping milk from my other breast, just like holding the space, like getting these women into their energy. And all of a sudden Shakti or Kali is just like I ran over, I took it down. We had the water that we anointed all the women with. I poured the water on it and it totally went out and everything was fine. The only thing that burned was the Kali tapestry. Like,
Wow.
and all the women were like, that was epic. That was an offering. And I was like, oh goodness, I'm glad that this is like how they're taking this. But like, so Kali last night fully lit on fire and was like in the middle of our ceremony. So I didn't know we were going into Kali today. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm listening.
It's here.
It's here fully, totally.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so just what I'm offering to the feet of the goddess as my son Kalpa is releasing my fears around truly embodying my power. And really, especially going into the Tantrika, I've been practicing solo for a long time, and my husband's not super spiritual. Like we have a really loving connection, but like for me to step into that really embodied Tantrika place with him, I find myself really shying away and kind of falling into our old patterns of connection because we've been together for so long, and almost fearful of really like, he's already mentioned like he thinks like eye gazing and all the stuff I want to do is kind of not silly, but it's just not his style, you know. And we have a lot of love and we do connect in a not so much in that way, but in a different way. So it's really sweet. But I'm really ready to like step into my power with him and in our relationship and really like embody the Tantrika more fully in my relationship. So just releasing that fear. There's a lot of like, I don't know, from the past, and I think past lives too. Like I feel deeply this past life connection to like being taken down as a witch. And so there's this like, yeah. So I'm just,
I got chills when you said that.
yeah, letting that go, really stepping into this power. So yeah. So thank you for holding space. Oh
Yeah.
I love you, ladies.
Oh, I love you, ladies. Oh my God, such powerful Shaktis on this call. I just want to say that I can really, really deeply, I can relate to everything that's been spoken so far. So many of us are transcending the same gateways. We're all liberating the same things as women. And it really is I'm just like chilling, like getting truth bumps all up and down. This is the importance of what we're doing at this time, and I know every single woman on this call right now in this moment is doing this work in the world and helping to awaken this Shakti energy on the planet. So what I really want to speak to with your share, Feather, is that it's like it's so multi-layered, and we can be simultaneously these very powerful embodiments, and there's still these edges that need polishing and that need for us to kind of move through. And I can just so deeply relate to that. My past two partners, I've had a hard time holding that space with for various reasons. And it's interesting when we can have this like solidity within ourselves, and then it kind of like weakens almost in the face of the masculine or in the face of that intimacy. And that's also a piece that I've been working with, where I have this interesting phenomenon where if I'm sitting with a stranger, no problem. Like we can go there. And then sometimes it's the hardest with the people that I'm the most intimate with. So that's been an interesting dance. And it's not that we didn't go into those spaces, but I always had to get over this kind of almost inner hurdle. And I think that you spoke precisely on what that is. We have been persecuted for holding this piece so many times, so many lifetimes. Those of us that are going into that past life work, I have multiple memories that have resurfaced of being, I'm not even going to go into the horrifying things that I've remembered from other lifetimes, but it's very real. And I bet every single one of us on this call has had that journey. And so we're all kind of moving through this, like, it's actually safe now for us to do this, and it's needed for us to do this and to step into this. So I'm grateful that you brought that into this field, because it's very real. And I think probably all of us can deeply relate. So thank you for sharing. Devana, do you have, I know you came in a little late, but if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, these 2 weeks have been amazing with this new practice that is just like, it's just a forever lifelong journey. And I can't get stressed at all when it's like, oh, I can't do it in some days because like at Cairo, my baby's like, I need to feed him, or just whatever the flow is that doesn't work perfectly how I like wish it could be, and just surrendering that it's okay. And that it's just a lifelong practice. And this is where I am right now with like a 14-month baby, and we just do our best. But just like, I've just been going so deep with like myself, care. Like I took a bath on the last new moon with like rose petals, and I did it again yesterday with essential oils and Epsom salts, and just like cleansing and purifying and surrendering. That has just been these themes for me. And rose medicine, just like again and again. And I made rose water yesterday with rose petals from my mom's garden. And then I did this fire ceremony yesterday where I wrote down all the things I wanted to release. And it's just so interesting. At the last like piece of paper that had the word fear, guilt, and I wrote biblical like dogma, brainwashing, because that's a deep journey that I've like been healing from, like so intense. And I feel like I'm releasing those layers of that, which also comes from the witches and past lives and ancestral and feminine. And that those 3 words would not burn, like fear, guilt, and biblical. It like got wet and then it wouldn't burn. And I was like, no, like this is going in. And so I like held it over the stove, and it like still wouldn't go. And it took like another 20 minutes to get like those 3 words to burn. And I was just like, shoo, shoo. And yeah, also didn't know that Kali was our goddess for today, but I like did a post recently about her with this whole thing going on with the, the collective right now with women and just Kali Ma, just like, so she's here.
Here.
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're
We're ready to burn that which has been stubborn to be burnt.
Yes. So that was it's so amazing to see that, like, biblical fear and guilt, like the resistance.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you, ladies, for being with me in this, because this really it's about all of us, and this really is the feminine path. It's not the like running off to the cave necessarily. Like, that's part of it. We do need to have that individual, we're each transmuting so much individually, but then in the feminine, it's like we come into the yogini circle. There's this really beautiful, there are these temples in India that are temples to the goddess Kali, and they're yogini temples. They're temples of the 64 yoginis. And so Kali comes with this whole entourage of these like intense, fierce yoginis, right? She's not doing this alone. She comes with this posse. And so in these temples of the 64 yoginis, you go in, they're all circular temples. There's a number of them through India, and they're tantric in origin, and they're open sky temples, which is really rare. Usually temples would have the earth over them, and they signify the yoni, or the womb of the goddess, and then they'll have a pillar in the center with 4 bhairavas, or 4 aspects of Shiva, with these big erections in the center. But all around it's a circle with all the 64 yoginis in the circle, and Kali like in the kind of center of the 64 of them. And I just, it's like, this is ancient wisdom that the feminine, we're meant to be in Sangha. We're meant to be doing this transformation together. And I think that's so apparent when we come together like this and we share, and, what happened for you, Feather, with the Kali tapestry, and then for you, Devana, with the paper that wouldn't burn, and everything that's happening in the collective, and us coming over these like pieces of self-doubt, like you shared, Crystal, and it's like, where did these seeds get sown in us in the collective? And we're up against that right now. Exactly. We've really, as women, been taught not to trust our nature, our instincts, our, that part of us that is that witchy, that's connected to the cosmic and telluric realms, and just knows already how to be in that powerful place, knows already how to transform energy, knows already what our truth is, what truth is. And then we've been sown for probably millennia with these seeds of doubting that inner nature. And this is exactly what we are transforming as we step into the realm of Tantrika, is all of those layers of what I like to call dross, that heaviness, that contortionist stuff. And we start to peel it away. We start to melt it away or burn it away. The elementals become our allies on this path of Tantrika as we work with the chakras, and specifically with the goddess Kali, who is all about intensive transformation. So what I want to get into, so I want to go now into kind of lecture space. What I have really boiled down just in my own personal sadhana as of late about what the tantric path is, there's lots of ideas around what the tantric path is nowadays, and it's vast enough to encompass them all, to be honest. But what's really coming into me is that Tantra is simply the return to our natural state of being. It's a return to the natural. It's a return to that place where we are responsive to what is manifesting within us and outside of us. And when we clean, I think all of us know and we understand this, but we can always be reminded over and over again that it's like, as we clear the internal mirror, the external starts to mirror that. So even as we look into what's happening in society, there's this like majorly distorted masculine that also lives in us, right? I love that saying, if you spot it, you've got it, right? So there's nothing manifesting in the hologram of creation that doesn't exist in us. And honestly, the larger our trigger towards it, that's the cue that it's here too. And so even as women, it's like a lot of our work right now, and we'll be doing this as we step into Tantrika, is to unsuppress the feminine, those doubts, those fears, those ways that we shrink and contract around what we know to be true, around our full expression, around that powerful voice, that powerful embodiment, that powerful liberated current of our sexual energy that sublimates into those higher centers, our ability to love and have compassion, and that all-encompassing embrace of the full spectrum between duality, that higher consciousness, that marriage between the intuitive and the intellectual. So we are basically, as we call upon the goddess Kali, it's like we are asking to liberate that feminine current, right, that has been suppressed. What I really see in the world is that there's a suppressed feminine and a distorted masculine. So we are all, men and women, whatever, however we identify with, we all have that inside of us. We all have a suppressed feminine. This is why so often in relationships with men, we feel upset that they can't meet us on this kind of more emotional level. It's because they have this suppressed feminine. We simultaneously, we as women, we also have this distorted masculine. We can see this as women step into this entrepreneurship. It is a frickin', I say this from experience, it is a dance, because the platform of business, of bringing our full power and gifts into the world, has been birthed through this distorted masculine lens. So we start to fill ourselves into it, for better or worse, because that is what is being created, and or what has been created. We're creating something new, but we're having to, as we fit into that, undistort it within ourselves, that part of ourself that pushes our own feminine past her boundaries, that part of us that, that keeps us in these weird, twisted knots, and doesn't let that energy flow freely. How often do we suppress our own feminine with our own masculine? How often do we, act from these kind of distorted ways? One of the big reclamations we've been going through as women is with our menstrual cycle, and actually giving ourselves rest, giving ourselves permission to stop every once in a while, instead of constantly this pushing the river, this constant output, this constant production that is a result of that distorted masculine. When we step into the place of the true masculine, Kali is a perfect example. So the image of Kali is of her dancing on top of Shiva, who is a corpse. When we step into the realms of the true masculine is stillness and peace and vertical alignment and deep wisdom and deep compassion. The realm of Shiva is a realm of extreme peace, right? And an ability with that, through that extreme peace, to contain the entirety that is Shakti, which we see as Kali. If you look at most of the depictions where Kali is dancing on the corpse of Shiva, he has a smile on his face. He is loving her, and how many of us women want that from our men in our lives? How about it's just okay when our full power gets unleashed, when there is this potential sacred rage, because how can there not be, with everything? It's our job to not just let it go wild. But that's what Shiva's doing. I'm going to go into the story of Kali and the story of her dance with Shiva. That's what he's doing in that depiction. He's actually holding her unbridled rage in that depiction. The goddess is wild. She is fierce. So as we enter into the realms of Tantrika, what we are really doing And in this module, just to specify, we're not going to go into two-bodied practice yet, because we always, first and foremost, really anchor this within ourselves, which is a lifelong practice. Even after we start doing dual cultivation stuff, that's going to come in beloved. That's going to be our final kind of like cherry on top of this whole journey as the cosmic consort, is to be so deeply working this within ourselves first, so that when we do come to that place, we're really anchored in that, which from my own experience, I'll say we will be tested in again and again and again and again. That's another piece I want to bring up with entering into the tantric path. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It is not. I think I shared this in the opening call, that we have this idea as Westerners that things should just be easy, especially nowadays. It's like we're kind of constantly following the pleasure. But when we enter into the realms of Tantra, it is full spectrum, right? It is very, very, very full spectrum. Now, ultimately, we are going towards that Anandamaya Kosha, that bliss body, right? But that we have to go through some fires on the way to get there. So as we come into the path of Tantra, there will be a quickening of our evolution. This is the rapid fire path to liberation and awakening, which means stuff will come up faster and more intensely. I will say, just honestly, I've had several moments of being like, do I need to bail from the boat of Tantra? Because it's just, woo, it is a ride once you get going. That being said, the depth and the heights and the expansiveness that will come as a result of just saying yes to the fires, and then those quenching waters that come here and there, is priceless. And ultimately, when we come into this realm, I'm going to talk a little bit today about karma, because karma is very much connected with the goddess Kali. We are doing this work not just for this lifetime. We are doing this for lifetimes to come. When we enter this path, we are not on a quick fix path. We are on this path that we, in this system, we believe in reincarnation. We believe reincarnation is a result of our karmas and our need to continue cleaning the mirror to return to our natural state. Now, we're either creating more and more karmic entanglement, or we are creating good karmic ripples. I don't really like to go into good and bad. We're either kind of creating more entanglement to work through, or we're untangling, right? And so our goal in Tantra is to start to really quickly unravel and untangle these processes, so that it takes less lifetimes to get there. And there is in the full revelation of our natural selves, of our true selves. Why this is so important at this time, and I think we can see this from every direction right now on planet Earth, we are living in increasingly complicated times. This is a result of karma. And we are in what is called the Kali Yuga, or this like long time cycle of the Iron Age, right? So the karmic web is thick right now, and that's what we're witnessing. So there's actually some comfort in this, because according to the very ancient Vedic and Tantric seers, we are right on track as far as our spiritual evolution as a humanity is. Now, we are in the darkest hour of that, but what you see is all this karmic stuff. What I want to invite with this, I'm just kind of shooting off the cuff here, so bear with me. Whatever wants to come through is coming through. But what I want to say with this, and what I really want to give us permission for as we as women step into these powerful roles as initiatrixes and liberators of not only our own energy but also others, is that because of the times we are in, karmically, we are transmuting so freaking much. And the more we can be, I think Devana said something about this, like just really allowing yourself to be where you're at and not be like stressed about it should be a particular way, blah, blah, blah. The more we can really allow ourselves to be where we're at and to understand the level of frequency that we are needing to like vibrate at and calibrate at to hold all the karmic entanglements that we are working through personally and collectively right now, this is a time for us to really give ourselves, well, it's a paradox, because not just give ourselves a break, but to really understand, to not be hard on ourselves, to not go into that place of not good enough or whatever those stories are that we carry as women stepping into these realms of power, but to really understand that we are working in very, very intensive times on planet Earth, right? That karmic matrix is as entangled as maybe it's ever been on this planet. So this is the time for the goddess Kali. Kali is a rapid fire path to liberation. As we work with different deities, every deity is here to assist us in liberation. However, there's always both sides of the coin. You know, the deity there can be a further entanglement that we get into with particular deities, or like liberation, right? So it's like even that has a flip side, and so we want to be really clear in our interactions with these different deities that we work with in the tantric system. So every deity, again, it represents a particular energy frequency in creation, and depending on that, the way that they work with us is different. So Kali, she really just dismantles it all. She's like, oh, you want to understand your true nature? Well, let me just get rid of everything that's in the way of that. Like, you know. So Kali can be intense. She can be fierce. But it's really this mother's love. Like Kali is like the mother who, you know, your child's about to touch a hot stove and you're not just like, honey, don't do that. You know, she's like, no, you know, like, don't do that. Grabs the child, right? And so she has this protective mechanism, but it can be shocking. You know, the child might not have even touched the stove, but starts crying because of the mother's reaction to what they were about to do without even knowing they're about to do it. So that's Kali with our karmic cycles. If we start to create some funky karma, she will into our world, and it might be a shake up to wake up kind of experience. So the goddess Kali is very much a goddess of transformation, but she is that loving, she's doing this for us out of her immense love and compassion for us. Now Kali, the name Kali comes from the root word Kala, which in Sanskrit means time. So she is the goddess of time. Creation could not exist without time. This is part of the iconography of Kali on top of the corpse of Shiva. Pure consciousness simply is nothing. It's inert. It's dead without time and space as a container for its experience of itself, right? But time is a tricky thing because, you know, on one hand, it's life-giving, but what else does time do? From the moment we're born, it said we start dying, right? So Kali, that's why Kali has this fierce depiction, and she's frequently seen on either a battleground or in a charnel ground, a cremation ground. Because not only does she give us life, but she also takes that away. You know, but even that is a benevolent act, because eventually what all this is leading to is our re-embrace with universal consciousness, with that inert Shiva realm where we are one with all. Now, the trick in, especially in these goddess paths, these goddess traditions, Tantra, you know, we're not just looking to transcend and be in nothingness. We're looking to remember that and then anchor it in this experience of Shakti's dance, right? So that we are fully awakened to this miracle of life in that natural state. So Kali is time. She rules the heart because it is out of her immense love of Shiva, of creation, that she manifests all of this, that this dance of time comes, when we can start to see death and loss as gifts rather than something to fear. As, you know, like these passages, I mean, I really just went through this in my own personal way, went through this really difficult uncoupling process, and one of my anchors has been this inner gnosis that Ma doesn't give us anything, first of all, that we can't handle. And almost always, if we look at those most challenging times of loss or death or grief in our lives, almost always what comes on the other side of that is absolutely worth the trial that we go through to get to this point, right? So that is part of Kali's gift and Kali's thread. Now, I want to talk a little bit about karma, and then I'm going to go into the story of Kali. So Kali is an immense assistant to us as we transform our karmas. So what is karma? We have all these ideas in the West around what karma is, and mostly we think of karma as a bad thing. It's not good or bad, it's the full spectrum. What it is action. So karma means action, but it implies that for every action there is a reaction, right? And we see this. It's like if I put water on the stove, it will eventually be hot, right? So that's karma. That's the law of karma in effect right there. It's simply that if I do something, there will be a result. There's always a consequence. There's always cause and effect in the realm of time. And so Kali is very much connected to this karma. So we have all these, you can think of karma as seeds that are planted throughout our life. And basically what we want to do is transform our patterns, because what we tend to do is these really repetitive cycling patterns that we have in our life. These were created way back. This is called a core samskara. And Ananda Shakti, who I interview and who offers the beautiful Yoga Nidra practice, she's also the one I do the Sublime Shakti pilgrimage with in India. She actually does readings for your core samskara. I cannot recommend highly enough getting a reading with her, because when we really can find where we started this, creating this rut for ourselves, it can be immensely liberating to working with it. But basically, so there's karmas, and then there's a samskara. Samskara is a very deep rut that was created usually from some karmic thing that happened in a very, very distant lifetime. And we just pattern through it, and it creates such a strong rut that it can become really hard to get out of. So this is called a core samskara. This is like our wounded healer journey. This is like what created that we keep. So the difference when we're in these patterns is that we are in a place of reaction, right? Karma, action, reaction to something that might have happened forever ago. You know, all of us have these in our lives from our own childhoods, but usually we choose the childhood we chose based on this very, very distant samskara. And so once we start working in the realm of Tantra, we start to have this opportunity to re-carve that rut, and to, instead of being in this reactive cyclical state, we can start to be more responsive, right? Response is from a liberated state. Reactions from a that distorted, crippled, suppressed state, right? And so we want to really change those ruts that we get in that have been a result of Kali's dance or time. So we can think of karma. Now let's go into karmas, because karmas are happening all the time. It's not like you can stop. If you are in a human body, you are creating karmas all day long. You know, actions and effects, cause and effects. Now, there are some certain karmas where it's like, you know, when you do something, I'm sure we've all done this in our lives, where we did something and we're like, oh, fuck, shouldn't have done that, or whatever. One of my teachers has described karma as like an arrow that we shot, for better or worse. And that arrow, even from other lifetimes, might still be flying, and it hasn't landed yet. And there's really nothing we can do. Like, some karmas just have to run their course. And others, you know, we have, because of that core samskara, we have this destiny to fulfill this, like, these karmas. So what we can do with Tantra and with these practices, and as we offer ourselves in our discipline and in our devotion to the feet of these deities, we can start to nip these karmas in the butt before we start to shoot that arrow, right? Because most of these arrows are shot unconsciously. They're shot from that reactive place rather than that responsive place. So Kali is, with all these deities, they're both the disease and the cure. if that makes sense. So Kali, karma comes from Kali. That is her dance, but she's also that which liberates us from it, right? So when we work with Kali, we're basically asking, like, help me untangle the knots that you have given me for my soul's evolution. Now, that doesn't mean you don't go through them, but we really work with those in a strong way. So I wanted to share that about karma. So now I want to share the story of goddess Kali. So Kali is a very fierce aspect of the goddess Durga. So I've shared, I don't know if you were on the webinar that I shared, but I shared over Navaratri the story of goddess Durga, I think on the final call. And goddess Durga manifested when the whole world fell into chaos, kind of like it is now. And none of the male deities could do anything about it. And so they invoked, and this happened several times in many of the Hindu mythologies where the male deities couldn't do anything. And so they prayed, and Shakti manifests as Durga, and she's like, don't you worry, I've got this. And she rides into battle, right, on her tiger or lion. And so in one of these stories, there's a deity called Rakta-bija. And Rakta is blood, blood, and Bija is seed. And the reason this demon was known as Rakta-bija is because every time Durga would like cut or something in battle, every time a drop of this demon's blood would fall onto the battlefield, a new demon would spring up in its place. So this demon was multiplying like crazy, and Durga is like going nuts trying to like keep up. But then every time a drop of blood would fall, more demons would come, right? And so she's in this predicament. And this is representative of those karmas, or even of our repetitive thoughts. But it's like one thing can all of a sudden multiply into this whole entangled mess, right? And so all these demons are coming up, and Durga's like, she's having a moment, let's just say. And all of a sudden she just gets filled with this fury and this wrath. And in this wrath, Kali springs from her third eye, this ferocious goddess, and this is the story of her tongue, why her tongue's hanging out. She starts to lap up all these drops of blood before they fall. With Kali also in this story come the 64 yoginis. So all of a sudden the 64 yoginis are all there, it's like all systems go. Like they're there, they're in full force, and Kali is just madly licking up the blood before it falls. And through this, they are able to defeat the demon Rakta-bija, to eliminate that core samskara, right? And all the subsequent karmas as a result. And so, but the story doesn't end there. So as Kali's in this dance, she kind of loses it. And she's just like keeps on, blah. And so she starts to set the whole three worlds basically kind of ablaze. And so now all the male deities, funny how this goes in all the stories, the male deities once again have to have a little powwow, and they're like, what do we do? Like, okay, the demon's defeated, but Kali is going nutso. And she's like in this frenzy, and she doesn't see what she's doing, but now it's like she's destroying three worlds. Right? There's like three worlds, and there's kind of an underworld, and then the earth realm, Bhumi Loka, and then like the heaven realms. So her dance is causing havoc in all these realms. And so of course they turn to Shiva, and they're like, kind of like, Shiva, your woman is going crazy, can you help us? And so Shiva takes off to go assist, and he lays himself down under Kali's feet to protect the world and to calm her down. And so she's dancing ferociously on Shiva, who's loving it. He's like that supreme masculine who, it doesn't matter how crazy his Shakti gets, he's just like, wow, look at this phenomenon of Shakti that's happening right now, right on top of me. And so Kali is raging, and all of a sudden she looks down. And this is another version of the story about her tongue sticking out that an Indian told me when I was in India once, that she looks down and sees that she's dancing this wrathfully on her beloved, and she has this kind of like moment, and her tongue sticks out during that moment when she realizes it's her beloved that she's dancing so ferociously upon, and then she calms down and softens into that mother state, and thus balance is restored to the three worlds. So that is the story of Goddess Kali, and kind of goes to depict several of the things that I've shared with you about her nature and her how we work with her in this system. So that is Kali. The other piece that I want to go into just really quickly before we go into our next module is the chakras, the idea of the chakras in the tantric system. So as we, this path of Shakti is our Sushumna, is through these chakras and how they are activated as the deity, as this energy is awakened within us. And I may have shared this in the first call, but all of our chakras are already working as it is, but until Kundalini pierces them subsequently through a real deal Kundalini awakening, which very few people have. We might have little moments of something, but a real deal awakening is no joke. And not recommended without the guidance of a teacher. But what happens as Kundalini pierces those is the chakras start to work all in sync with one another. It becomes a full system, sorry, rather than separate moving parts that are kind of disparate from each other. So all of a sudden there becomes this harmonic between these different centers of awareness and energy. And so as we go into the realm of Tantrika, we'll be working directly with the chakras. The yoga that we're doing in Yogini also does this, works with balancing those Ida and Pingala. And now we're going to work directly with the energy of Sushumna via the chakras and the deities Shiva and Shakti. So in this coming module, we're going to be working with a practice called Nyasa, where we're actually using mudra and mantra and self-anointing to awaken the energy of these different centers. So the chakras, I go into a bit more in this next module, how we use those elements. And as we go deeper, this is just a really initiatory taste of the tantric system, but as we go deeper, there are whole visualizations that we do with the chakras and with the petals, each petal of each chakra, the deities that live or rule each chakra. It becomes this whole other realm. There are very full 40-something day sadhanas associated with each chakra and different ritual oblations we do to awaken them. So this is the very beginning of that journey of creating cohesion with the chakras, which then creates a safe environment for Kundalini to awaken. Now, the other piece I wanted to share about with Tantra and these different ways we go about Kundalini awakening, and this was shared, I love this was the wording of one of my teachers, and I just love it because I've experienced the different tantric systems and they're very different. So there are many tantric systems that have kind of this more masculine approach where, we think of the goddess, like basically Kundalini is like this sleeping goddess, and she's happy. She's like in dream state, and she's just in there in her many jeweled palace of Svadhisthana. She actually had said she sleeps at the second chakra. That's her kind of abode. So she's between Muladhara, the first and second. And she's just sleeping there, and she's perfectly content. And then there are certain systems that basically go to her, the door to her bedchamber, and they start banging on the door to wake her up, right? And so in these systems, what can happen is when she wakes up, she's ferocious, and this is where, these are the systems that we hear a lot about, the negative aspects of Kundalini awakening, Kundalini fever, Kundalini syndrome, these kind of things, because we're literally, it's kind of based on the approach. Karma. In these more feminine systems of Tantra, like specifically in like Sri Vidya and some of the Kaula systems, we come to it from a very different angle. We basically beautify our internal sphere. We beautify those 5 koshas, the panchakosha, those 5 bodies, so that we create such a beautiful environment that the goddess kind of like, oh, like, it's really nice in here. Like, I think I'm gonna get up and, oh, okay. And then she rises and meets Shiva, and then they descend back to, and it's this whole journey. So it's really about the approach. It's like, do we want to go bang on the bedchamber? And it works. It's not that that approach doesn't work. And sometimes it even works quicker because, it's like the difference of waking up to the birds chirping and the sun coming out, or being startled awake from an earthquake or something, right? One of those, you wake up much quicker. But the effects can be really intensive. So what we're doing in this course is creating that, as a cosmic consort, we're creating this beautiful space to where lover and beloved can meet within. So I wanted to speak on that. The next thing that I want to share about Tantra is when we go to work with these deities, we are working very directly with awakening these deities within us. So in the subsequent module, we're going to work, there's going to be a sadhana for both Shiva and for Shakti. So we already have this mantric and invocation, mantric and mudric invocation that we do to call them in with each practice. Now we're going to go deeper into creating a relationship with them individually. In Beloved, we come into bringing them into that full union. So with Shiva, we're going to be working with his yantra, meditation on his yantra, and working with a mantra, which is you already have the mantra. It's in the invocation, very simple mantra, but very powerful. And then there's also a meditation for each. So you'll be doing the same thing with each Shiva and Shakti with their subsequent yantras and mantras, which are the main tools of Tantra, main tools of awakening deity within us. And then there is a meditation for each Shiva and Shakti that go along with this, where we actually go through our whole bodies and we awaken or imagine ourselves as Shakti, and with all the ornaments and adornments and what it feels like to be in her body, and same with Shiva. So we do this whether we are women or men. We start to awaken the deity from the inside out through these tools. So that is what you have to look forward to in Tantrika. What was the other thing? So I want to give, just because this is how we do this in this system. I know many of you are going to be watching this as a replay, but I want to give the mantras to you. Now these are mantras. The mantras we're using for the sadhana, these are baby sadhanas that I'm giving. I'm saying to do them for a minimum of 3 days in a row. Maximum you could do, I really like 3s or 9s. So you could do it for 33 days or 3 months or something like this. Every single night you could do this sadhana. It's a very simple sadhana. It's just to start to get a taste for what sadhana is. When we are really, for reals, practicing traditional Tantra, you get very familiar with sadhana. It's all about sadhana. So what is sadhana? Sadhana is a regular disciplined practice. It would be the same practice. So you'd receive a practice from a teacher. You're going to do the same practice every single day. We have an amazing resource in this course with Radasi, who's going to be one of the guest teachers in Tantrika, who, through the grace of her guru, is able to offer these sadhanas. So I believe she's offering in her practice video a sadhana that you can follow up with her on, should you want a more intensive sadhana than the ones I'm offering. So that's an amazing resource if you really like this and want to dive deeper into working with deities. And then there's a whole other portal that can open up through her via this realm. So in our sadhanas, we're going to be working with the mantra for Shiva. I'm going to say the mantra, and then I'd like you to just repeat it out loud after me, and that will be kind of the transmission, although these mantras don't require initiation. Before I say the mantra, I'm just going to speak a little bit about that. So in Tantra, and one of the reasons I added at the bottom of our student portal that little disclaimer on like these practices aren't to just start sharing with anybody. There needs to be a level of understanding first. When we enter into Tantra, there are certain practices that must be given through the lineage, right? And one of those things is mantra. So mantra and very specific sadhanas would only be able to be used through a deity. Like, again, if we think of Shiva as that corpse, right? A mantra, certain mantras given without empowerment or initiation from a guru, they're dead. They won't do anything for you. They require that transmission. And that transmission is what puts the Shakti, that active force, that power, into the mantra. So because I am not of a level that I can give empowered mantras, the mantras that we are working with in this course do not require initiation. They are perfectly safe to use for anyone, but I still want to give them to you via this video before you dive in the course and the pre-recorded videos. So our mantra for Shiva is Om Namah Shivaya. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. So it's Om Namah Shivaya. And what I want to bring into that, both this mantra and the mantra we use for Shakti, is even if it's a familiar mantra, we are bringing our devotion to that mantra. It's not just Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. No, it's Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, like obeisance to the Lord Shiva, who is the embodiment of supreme consciousness, of supreme peace. May I come to know you so intimately. May you come to reside in my body, as in my consciousness, in all of those bodies, the Panchakosha. So we really want to approach the mantra from that space. So let's just repeat that 3 times together. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And just letting that mantra land. So really going for the deep feeling of the mantra. If you haven't gotten a mala already, I recommend doing that. This is a mala. I'm sure many of you already have them. But we want to make sure there are 108 beads. And then Radasi will be teaching us how to properly use a mala, because there is a right way and a wrong way. So that is her gift to us in this next module. So we'll be using mala and just doing 108 rounds. You also have the option, if you want a longer sadhana, to do three malas of each mantra. That will take a bit longer, and then you can do the yantra meditation and then listen to the recorded meditation afterwards. That will be a solid taste of sadhana. So you could do that for 3 days in a row. If you just want a baby taste, you could do it for 3 weeks, 3 months, 33 days, anything like that, for either of the sadhana. Now, I wouldn't do them both together. I would pick just Shakti, do a sadhana with her, then Shiva, do a sadhana with him. So that is what is coming up for Tantrika. So I want to open, I know I'm giving full-on download here, lots of talking. So I want to open, before we close our call, with our closing mantras and metta. For any Q&A that wants to happen, if you have any questions, if anything's come up in Yogini that you want clarified, if there's anything I'm saying about Tantrika that you want to know a little bit more about before you don't see me again live for 2 weeks, although of course we have the student or the Facebook group, or if you have any questions regarding anything that I can help with. So I want to just open for that right now. And again, you can either type it or unmute or whatever feels good. If there are no questions, that's okay too. I actually have a question for you ladies. So in Yogini, I'm giving a lot. The Surya Namaskar and Chandra Namaskar with the mantras is a lot. So I'd love to hear if any of you are already doing the practice with the mantras, actually, and how that's going for you. If anyone wants to speak to that.
I really have been loving the mantras. I don't have them memorized. So like every day I spend the time with you and have your voice as I go through, and I've been chanting them with you. And so it really adds a whole nother energy to the movements, and I'm really enjoying it a lot. But it is a lot to remember. And so yeah, it's just been fun. I feel like I have a date with you every morning or evening whenever I'm doing it, that I just put you on, and it's really sweet. So I usually just either do it silently or with music. So it's been really nice to add that next level of intention and energy. So yeah. And like the Surya Namaskar, it's fairly simple. Like I always tend to add more into my sun salutations. So I've really been enjoying the simplicity and then feeling the energy from the mantras. It's like, it's just a kind of a whole new practice for me. And I really love it. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it just takes repetition, and eventually they'll sink in. That's the beauty of mantra. And these are, so basically the Surya Namaskar and the Chandra Namaskar, these are like the traditional Hatha Yoga sequences. So this is like the birthplace of these practices, is in this like simple form.
Yeah.
Fun to hear that.
And I'll share too, for me, I never even knew that you could chant mantras while you were doing, it's just like a whole new element of yoga. And I love it because it really, I also I haven't memorized them. That's also part of like the journey for me. But I was chanting a mantra that Amma gave me when I met her, because that's just one that I really know. So I was just using that, and it just helps me go really slowly in the movements. When you're chanting a mantra, it really like just forces you, or just helps you slow down to take the breath. And the sun salutation is something I've been doing pretty much since I healed from pregnancy. I would just do it in the right when I would wake up, just to help my, just with my body, just even if it's just one round. And so now to add the mantras to it, I'm just excited for that. Thank you.
So at the retreat, I have a retreat coming up. I'll be in Greece in less than a month now. And we'll be there for summer solstice. So I'm going to invite everyone. I'll remind you all when we enter into Mystica to do this. But basically what we do at the retreat is we all wake up before sunrise and we chant the Gayatri mantra, which is all about awakening the light of consciousness within all beings. And then we go into the Surya Namaskar practice. I teach everyone the practice with the mantras leading up to the solstice. And then we do it facing the sun as the sun comes up on summer solstice. We did, I don't even know how many rounds I made them do. It was a lot. We did a lot of Surya Namaskar, but with the mantras, so powerful. So you can do it any morning for sunrise facing the sun. Very, very, very powerful. But my invitation will be especially on solstice for you all to get up for the sunrise and find some place in nature to actually do the practice with the mantras. So this will be a good goal to maybe have it memorized even by then. That's like in a month. Totally doable if you just focus on the Surya Namaskar and don't maybe add in the Chandra Namaskar just yet. So that would be a fun thing for us all to do together on the morning of sunrise, and then that'll sync up with the women I'll be with in Greece also, which would be super fun. So that'll be an invitation. And then with Chandra Namaskar also, once that starts to really sink in, or even just with using with the sheet, you can do that with the full moon. You can do it as the full moon rises. And it's really a beautiful, beautiful energy. Yeah. So ways we can deepen and bring even more meaning into these practices. Now, when we're doing the mantras, I just want to specify this, and I believe I do in the video, but I don't totally remember. We can start, it can help with the memorization of the mantras to start doing them out loud, but ultimately we almost always use mantra internally, unless we're doing like the puja, like that opening offering we do out loud. But after that, we want to bring the mantra inside. So eventually you're doing the breath, like the proper breath with the namaskaras, but the mantra is being repeated internally. But it helps at first to say out loud. Beautiful. Is there anything else that wants to be shared?
Hi, it's Crystal. When I do the mantras, actually, I always have like the urge to dance and let them come through me as dance. So I'm just wondering if that's normal, if there's like in Tantra specific mantras that you should be sitting in front of the altar, or especially with Om Namah Shivaya. I started doing that with my beads, and then it just became a dance. So now I always I always dance with mine. So I was just wondering about that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that there's a balance where we do want to sometimes, like especially if we're sitting down for like the sadhana that I'm going to give you in, or that I'm giving in this next module, what I'm going to invite you to do is to sit and stay seated, try to stay still and observe that energy that's being awakened, that Shakti. So from that space of Shiva, just witnessing that wanting to arise and allowing it its expression within the body without actually expressing. Now there is a spontaneous, I mean, as these deities awaken within us, they will come into the dance. This is something we'll go into in Mystica. That module, I'm teaching a formless dance form that I use with deities, where we actually let them come through us in that way. I'm not going to say don't dance with the mantra. By all means do, especially if that's like authentic and what's coming through, or even if, you know, you're in some devotional space, even at like a festival or something, and that's wanting to come through, like do it, you know, and have that mantra chanting internally as you move and let it come through. Because I'm wanting to give a really traditional taste to this, because there is a little bit of loss of traditional thread within the realm of Tantra, I'm going to invite you in this module to just sit and observe that desire. This isn't about suppressing it, but just observing it and allowing that impulse to dance within you while you hold kind of that Shiva space as you do the malas. And that being said, the mantra, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the mantras they generate this energy. The sadhana that I'm doing right now, which is a much more involved practice and sadhana, that literally I couldn't do it if I was dancing, because it involves me doing external things. But as I go into it, it's like an hour-long thing. As I go into it, the energy just starts building, and it's like sometimes it can actually be hard to continue to sit, because it's just like, you know. And so then the practice is like we're liberating the energy, right? It's Tantra. It's about liberating energy. But we're doing it in this way that it's like we can also contain it. It's like that balance. Like I again think of the symbol of the yoni and linga, how it's like, you know, we have this Shakti and we can just let it run wild like Kali does in that story. Or we can like kind of harness it. You know, I really think of Durga when I think of that harness Shakti. It's like, okay, all that energy is moving, but we're like holding it and we're letting it build. Because something that can happen when we go into these spontaneous things is we can actually then dissipate the energy that we're building in the container of the body. That's not always true. There's plenty of times that you build energy in that way. But especially when we're in these like solid practices, the goal is to really generate and contain the energy. So I just want to speak to that. And I'm excited to hear just how, as this journey unfolds, how these energies awaken within all of you. So thank you for sharing that. And I don't have my timepiece and look at our time, but I think it's probably time for us to close. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to kind of face you and the altar simultaneously if I can. So let's just come. I know that's a lot of information, and it will all start to percolate and make more sense as we enter into Tantrika. So actually, I just want to say before we close out, for any of you listening to this as the replay, I would love to hear your sankalpas and any shares or questions or anything you might have in our Facebook group. So go into the Cosmic Consort Coven and please share your sankalpa for this next cycle and anything that may be coming up with Yogini or as we enter into Tantrika. So let's just take a moment to settle from that mind space and again into the body where all of this transformation occurs. Really feeling that energy rooting down and back, and again feeling the whole body just softening and opening. And I'm going to invite us into the direct experience of what I just spoke about. So feeling your body as empty space, and your skin, the border of your skin, as kind of a container that's holding this empty space. And as you establish that boundary of containment that distinguishes your internal world from the external world, I'm going to invite you to go deep into the internal world and just within this containment explore the dance of Shakti that is happening there right now as we speak, this energetic dance. And then see if you can soften more into this energetic dance. And bring more and more presence to it as you feel the container of that body, that boundary of the skin holding all this energy within. And as you go deeper and deeper into the sensations, perhaps they become bigger and you can start to feel more energy building just simply by witnessing this energy and being fully with it. Allowing this energy to become a bit more vibrant and intensified with each breath, with the continuing penetration of your presence within, and that containment of the boundaries of the skin. Feeling that Shakti force filling and vibrating and radiating through every single cell. And from this place, really feeling how that boundary of the skin helps to intensify the energy, how that containment, how that presence actually creates like a cloak that allows that energy to become even stronger within us. Like that tapas of Parvati, that blazing heat within. And as we let this energy intensify, let us again bring the energy of that bright sun in Anahata, or in the center of the heart, into a radiant blaze as well. And in that sun of the central heart, the Hridaya, the spiritual seat, in the center of the heart, allowing the image of Goddess Kali to emerge in her full glory, standing atop that beautiful corpse of Shiva with that wry smile on the corner of his lips. And we'll gently and mindfully bring our hands to meet at the center of the heart, uniting right and left, Ida and Pingala, lunar and solar, in the center of the heart. And offering our metta, so imagining anyone, anything, any place, perhaps the whole planet, that you wish to send some energy to, some of this blazing heat to, as we chant our closing mantras, offering this metta, offering our practices, offering our inner work, offering our external work to the awakening and healing of all sentient beings. Let's go ahead and exhale and then inhale to begin. Sarvesham swastirvavatu. Sarvesham shantirvavatu. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Sarve bhavantu sukhino, sarve shantu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukkhabhag bhavet. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And in whatever way you choose, you can either do a full prostration if you're sitting on the ground, or just simply bow your head into the heart, offering ourselves at the feet of the great Guru who resides within all that is. All right, beauties. Thank you so much for being here on the live call, those of you who made it. Super wonderful to hear your voices and hear your hearts, and just to be in this space with you all. I am dreaming of the day we all get to do this in person. Come on, Shakti Pilgrimage in January. So I will get this video uploaded, send out the replay. Student portal will be up tomorrow. I want to get this replay out first before people dive in. So again, if you are watching the replay, please hop into our Facebook group and give us a little download from you. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to keep our energy connected and contained as we enter into this next phase. So much love to you all. Thank you for being here with me in this dance. Hey, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you, ladies. Yeah.